Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of my mini-series analyzing the upcoming characters of Dragon Age Inquisition before the game is released. In this episode, we are going to be talking about one of my personal favorite characters amongst the companions, Cole. Now before I continue, I just wanted to put up the disclaimer that this video is going to be chock full of spoilers from the novel Dragon Age Asunder. It is a great book, an awesome story. If you haven't read it yet, I've said this many times before, but I highly recommend that you read it, especially before you play Dragon Age Inquisition, because there's a lot of great information that I think will enhance your experience when you play Dragon Age Inquisition. And again, Cole is one of the main characters that appears in that book. So I think that going into the game, it would be really neat to learn a little bit more about Cole's history, at least as far as the Dragon Age Asunder book is concerned. As soon as I found out that Cole was going to be one of the companions, I was freaking out because I loved his character so much in the Asunder. I'm going to try really hard to keep the content in this video. Any spoilers are going to be Cole specific and not necessarily spoiling the plot of Asunder. So according to his profile on the official website, he is a ghost in the shadows, walking unnoticed through crowds. He can slit an enemy's throat before they even realize he's there and slip away, never to be seen again. Those few who do notice him soon forget he ever existed. And Cole isn't certain that he does exist. He is a spirit, impossibly caught between the immaterial realm of the Fade and the confusing realities of our physical world. But does that make him real? Does it make him human? Or a demonic pretender, as some believe? All Cole knows for certain is that the world is full of pain, and he must find his place within it. Those who wish to restore order and help the helpless will find him a strange but unwavering ally. Those who use their power for selfish reasons may never see Cole again, if they remember that he was there to begin with. There is so much. Where do I begin with Cole? Because he's such a complicated character in a good way. First of all, there's so much mystery behind him. Even if you were to read the books, there's still a lot of questions about Cole's character by the end of the book. And I think that's the reason why they decided to include him in the Inquisition story, is because it allows a way for us to possibly answer some questions that were left unanswered in Asunder. Cole's deal is that, again, you're not quite sure exactly what he is, because he is invisible. He has an uncanny ability to not be noticed by the people around him. Like, it's interesting because he's not a ghost. Like, when he's walking down the hall, for example, and there's two people walking towards him, those two people will walk around him. And, you know, they'll walk around him, but they won't realize that they're walking around him. You know, it's like, it's weird. It's an interesting concept. So it's like, you know, I guess if he physically, he can force them to notice him if he, like, runs up to them and like accidentally like bumps into them, then they'll notice it. If he was in the room the entire time, like somebody could have been in the room and he could have been there with you the entire time, and you will just not notice. You will not notice that he's there. And then if he were to run into you and bump into you, you'd be startled, because you'd be like, who are you? Like, I didn't notice you were there. And if you were to, like, look away for, I mean, I don't know how long, but eventually you would forget that he even bumped into you. You would forget that he was there. There's something fascinating and creepy about about Cole, and the problem is he is not really sure himself what he is. A lot of, throughout the books, a lot of the antagonists call him a demon. Um, but and you find out later on that he's certainly not. Signs point to him not really being of this realm, uh, because one of the things that happens near the climax is that uh, one of the antagonists uses the litany, I think the litany of Badrala, against him. If you remember, the litany of Badrala is that scroll that you end up using in the Broken Circle side quest in Dragon Age Origins when you're fighting Uldred. Uldred is trying to, sometimes during the fight, he tries to take over, control people's minds, the minds of some of the mages around, and you use the Litany of Adrala to stop the mind control, to stop, I guess, the blood magic from happening. It's heavily implied that the litany is supposed to be used against demons and creatures of the Fade, heavily implied, which is why signs are pointing, since it was affecting Cole, because essentially the antagonist was using the litany against him so that he would become visible um, in the final, I guess, the climactic fight at the end. He wanted Cole to become visible, and so because of that, it's implied that Cole is not exactly human, which is something that he's been fearing this entire time. You can imagine when you are a person who has this curse about you, where not only do people not notice you, but they forget about you. I mean, how awful is that to... It's tough, I would think, to try to make friends with someone, because knowing that no matter what, they're just gonna not even realize you existed in the first place the next day. Like, that's really hard. I can't imagine psychologically that must be for him, and that's another reason why Cole is such a tragic character, and he's the kind of character that you just want to hug. You just want to hug him and just tell him, everything's going to be okay, because he's got to deal with this really lonely existence. And then added to the fact that you don't even know what you are. The confusion of not realizing if you are even a demon or a spirit. I'd like to believe that he's a spirit. I'd like to believe that Cole is good. I mean, he definitely does some things in the book that are very questionable, morally questionable, but there's a reasoning behind it. There's reasons why he does some of the things that he does in the book. And he's got a very childlike mentality. Sort of an innocent-ish childlike mentality. When we find him in Dragon Age Asunder, he was taken there initially because people thought that he was a mage, and for the longest time, many people were wondering if he really is a mage or not. In Dragon Age Inquisition, he is a rogue, which really does fit more with how he's portrayed and how he fights in the book. So if he's not a mage, and he's got this magical ability, I mean, yeah, again, that further reinforces him not totally being human. Another thing that I love about Cole is that despite the short end of the stick that life seems to have given him, he is incredibly selfless. My absolute favorite quote, which absolutely broke my heart, is one that Patrick Weeks, the writer of Cole, said in his interview, is that beyond his skill in combat, though, Cole wants to help people who are hurting. He may not always get it right, but he never stops caring. He will walk into the most painful moment of someone's life and offer them comfort without hesitation or judgment. And then he will disappear from their mind and walk away, because, and this is my favorite part, it's not about getting thanked or even remembered or recognized. It's about helping. That phrase really got to me, because I just found that so admirable, that his motivations behind what he does when he tries to help people, it's not for recognition. He's not doing it for recognition. He's doing it because he's just trying to help. And that just, again, oh, I just want to give him a big hug. You know, I just want to give him a big hug and just tell him it's okay, everything will be okay. And you know, I can't imagine being in Cole's shoes and talking to him in Inquisition. I can anticipate is going to be fascinating and probably heart-wrenching. I'm probably going to have my tissues, I mean, especially since I already know his character. I love his character, so that when we finally get him in our party and I start talking to him and he'll be talking about his experiences, probably even mention some things in the book, I'm just going to be I think it's going to be really tough in a good way to talk to him, interact with him. His physical design, I think, is spot on, because he looks just like he's been described in the book, and there's sort of he's got this kind of a creepiness to his design, which this might sound strange, but I actually like that, because he's meant to be an enigmatic character. He's meant to have some sort of mystery, and there is a creepiness factor to him, because you never quite know what to make of him. Yeah, I'm just really excited to learn more about Cole. One thing in particular that I'm very curious about is how the game is going to handle his curse, how it's going to handle the fact that people forget about him. People forget he exists. Like, is my Inquisitor gonna continually, like, you know, not know who he is? Like, how is conversation gonna happen? Like, are we gonna, you know, is the conversation, I doubt this is gonna happen, but like, if you're playing with how things are in the book, like, does he have to keep reintroducing himself to me every single time? Like, are the dialogue options gonna always be the same because my Inquisitor has forgot all of the other previous dialogue that we ever had? I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I think something is going to, maybe because of the Inquisitor's gift, or whatever is in his hand, you know, whatever special ability he has that closes rifts, maybe part of that will allow him to remember Cole somehow, so that we don't have to worry about, you know, him, you know, us turning around and my Inquisitor be like, who are you? But even if there is an explanation as to why the Inquisitor is able to remember Cole, what about the rest of the party? Like, is the rest of the party, during banter, is the rest of the party going to all of a sudden asks, psst, hey Inquisitor, some creepy guy is following us? Like, I don't know. Maybe by this point in the storyline, by this point in the timeline, Cole might have figured out a way to control his ability to make people forget about him, so maybe it'll become a non-issue, because he'll be able to designate who can and cannot remember him after interacting with him. I don't know. I mean, that would definitely be very convenient. It would certainly get rid of a really interesting aspect of his backstory. But, I mean, for the sake of a video game, and for the sanity of the player, I mean, that might be something that they might have to do. Otherwise, I don't know how that'll work if they wanted to maintain that cursed ability of people always forgetting about you. I have no idea. And, yeah, we'll see how that gets treated. Patrick Weeks continues talking about some of the relationships that Cole might have with the other party members as well. He talks about how Vivian thinks Cole should be safely banished. I can understand why. Sarah refuses to talk to it entirely. I just feel like... I just feel like if I have him in the party with other party members, I'm going to be saying, "Aww." I'm probably going to be using very generous amounts of awes watching them banter with Cole. But Patrick Weeks also says that the Iron Bull is sort of funny because although the Iron Bull does hate demons, if you're on the team, you're on the team, and in Bull's mind, Cole is a weird, squirrely kid who just needs a night of good drinks and bad women to get him sorted out. That being said about the bad women to get him sorted out, I think it was pretty much confirmed that Cole is not going to be a romanceable character, and a big explanation about why is because he's still got that child mentality. That the romance just doesn't make sense for Cole. Which is just fine, because I see myself sort of taking Cole under my wing. I see myself taking care of him like a little brother. Huge fan of Cole. So excited to see him in Inquisition. I definitely will want to get him in my party as soon as possible, just so we can learn more and continue on with the story from Dragon Age Asunder. Anyway, that's the end of my analysis of Cole pre-release of Dragon Age Inquisition. Tune in next time, everybody, when I talk about yet another character from the Dragon Age Inquisition roster. Until then, love yourselves, love each other.